I've been in broadcasting a long time, and you've got to avoid sweeping statements. But let me say, in relation to forced council amalgamations in New South Wales, I don't think I've ever witnessed anything ever, characterised by more bullying, more intimidation and more lies than this performance by the Baird government. There's only one way to say it, and stop the humbug and put it bluntly. The Baird government is spending a fortune on advertising, and I'm sorry to say, telling lies. There's no other way of saying it. The reality is, in this bullying and intimidatory way, the Baird government could simply say the new merged councils will take effect from June 1, and therefore councils will no longer exist. Forces within the government, including people like the Premier himself, Gladys Berejiklian and the Treasurer, and others, virtually saying, you better toe the line with us or you've got no future. This will be a massive federal election issue right across New South Wales. I had a raft of people come to see me yesterday. They've been asking to see me. I had no choice but to see them. I spent hours with them. I simply sat back and couldn't believe what I was being told. This is about local government. There is now no Department of Local Government in New South Wales. It's been emasculated. There is an Office of Local Government, and this matter of forced amalgamations, contrary to an election promise made by Premier O'Farrell, in writing, there will be no forced amalgamations, co-signed by the now Local Government Minister Toole, no forced amalgamations. This now is being prosecuted by the Department of Premier and Cabinet. Presiding over it, the baby-faced assassin Michael Baird. I repeat, this forced amalgamation, and we've spoken to people on the Labor side, on the Liberal side, is characterised by lies and bullying and intimidation. We're talking about councils run by councillors who live in the area, who are committed to the area. The advertisement tells us that 3/4 of councils in New South Wales are losing money. That's your money, taxpayers' money, paying for these advertisements. Michael Baird, that is a lie. I've got the list here in front of me. There it is. 151 of them. More than 80 of them, starting at the top with the Hills Shire, are well into profit. Overwhelmingly profitable. How can taxpayers' money be used to say 3/4 of councils are losing money? Or that local government is losing $1 million a day? Or the system is broke? When here are council after council after council running significant surpluses. How can the government claim there have been 4 years of consultation? That is a lie. An example, with the merger of Manly, well, no one knows what's going on down Manly, Mossman and so on, Manly, Mossman and Southern Warringah, there has been no public consultation at all prior to the release by the Baird government of this is where Michael Baird lives, of a merger proposal on January 6th this year. No consultation at all. What's this about 4 years of consultation? The claims about forced amalgamations are a lie anyway. I repeat, Barry O'Farrell and the now Local Government Minister Toole, before Barry O'Farrell became Premier, as part of his election campaign, signed in writing there would be no forced amalgamations. A Liberal government. Well, Barry O'Farrell believed it. Now someone is standing that on its head. The government is going back on its word. It's telling lies. It's a harsh word. These are lies. The extent of consultation, lies. The consultation has been derisory. The financial capacities of local councils, lies. 3/4 of the councils are losing money, a lie. The system's broken, a lie. Delegates are appointed by the government to report back to the government on the so-called amalgamation proposals. How can they report on that if they don't have a copy of the KPMG report, which no one can get, which is the basis on which these amalgamations are to occur? And in relation to the Manly part of Warringah-Mossman amalgamation proposal, there were 6,000 submissions. Listen to this. They closed on February 28. Between February 28 and March 25, February 28 and March 25, 3 weeks, the delegate purports to have read 6,000 submissions, comes to a conclusion about it, and doesn't even have the KPMG report. There has never in the history of this state been such atrocious public administration. Woollahra Council took this issue of the KPMG report on which the amalgamations are based. Woollahra Council took the matter to court, and amazingly the court decided the lawyers could see the KPMG report, the council can't. If the Baird government is certain of its position, why would it not release the KPMG report, which is the basis for what it's doing? And how are some people betraying their constituency? Sally Betts is the mayor of Waverley. She obviously wants to be the empress of the new world. She's a Liberal mayor. Her council's been polled over and over again. They're opposed to amalgamation, but she wants a big new job. I suppose she's been promised a big new job. So the mayor sells out her local constituency. Gail Giles Gidney, the mayor of Willoughby, same stuff. She's a Liberal, toe the line. They'll give you a big job in the new forced amalgamations. Mayor Gilly Gibson from North Sydney, the council pro-amalgamation, totally opposed, but she most probably wants a gig in the new merged councils, so she surrenders. Ministers Berejiklian and Poole, the local government minister, went to see Giles Gidney, the mayor of Willoughby. Willoughby's $50 million in debt. Of course they want to merge with North Sydney, who aren't. But then the weights are put on these people. This is atrocious stuff. Democracy's out the window. Sign up to the transitional team and there'll be a job for you at the other end. The mayor of Hunters Hill is a Liberal. Enormous pressure on him. He's holding the line, representing his constituency. The mayor of Ku-ring-gai, likewise. And then you've got this Michael Photios and all these factional hacks in there doing the dirty work for the government. There has never been anything as disgraceful as this. There is no Department of Local Government anymore. There's an acting CEO of the Office of Local Government. All these other people have been whipped into the Department of Premier and Cabinet, and reports yesterday said that the Premier of New South Wales now has up to 35 staff. Michael Baird and his sidekicks don't negotiate, they don't talk, they just want their own way. And Minister Poole, who signed a petition opposing forced amalgamations and was pictured with Barry O'Farrell with the petition, is saying to these people, if you cooperate, there'll be a prize at the end of the line. We're going to amalgamate these councils and we'll want administrators and so on, and there'll be a job there for you. Okay? This is the stuff that's going on. Yesterday I was given, from the Office of Local Government, the rules of what local government can and can't do to defend themselves against all of this. The rules don't apply to the Baird government. So councils can't spend any money advertising. Well, if they do want to spend additional money, they've got to write and get approval from the minister. Bully boy tactics. Councils affected by merger proposals, quote, should avoid making appointments of senior staff other than temporary or acting appointments. You can't do anything. These are the guidelines issued by the government in December last year, part of the bullying campaign. But of course information campaigns, it says in the guidelines, quote, should be conducted in an objective, accurate and honest manner and should not be deliberately misleading. Well, the Baird government advertising has done nothing but mislead. It is dishonest. This is government at its worst. And the rules that have been applied to local councils obviously don't apply to Michael Baird, who, as I said, runs around telling people that local government's in disarray, 3/4 of the councils are losing money, local government's losing $1 million a day. I've got the figures in front of me. And there are council after council after council running significant surpluses and they can't get a voice. No plebiscite was held. If a plebiscite were held and a vote were given, this thing would sink without trace. Then, yesterday, I had stuck into my hands a West Australian document on the amalgamation process in WA. How extraordinary. The same things that Premier Baird is saying here were being said by the West Australian government. It's almost a mirror image of the language. The only difference is Barnett in Western Australia gave people a say, a plebiscite, and they voted against it. And there is Barnett saying what Michael Baird's saying. The system is broken. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's very difficult to get sensible reform. All these things are being said here. Quote, there's going to be a reorganisation of local government one way or the other. I'm not going to spend every day of my life over the next 4 years arguing with local councils. I'll make it very clear. All said by Barnett in WA, exactly what is being said by Baird in New South Wales. And it failed in WA because the process was flawed from the start, as it is here, because of hypocrisy and internal Liberal Party and coalition dissent. The Baird government is split on this. There are members of the ministry who don't approve of this. It breaches a commitment that Barry O'Farrell gave to the electorate. But at the end of the day, one person must believe that he has to have his way. Well, one of the people to whom has corresponded with me, and there's a stack of them, the file is a mile high, is a North Sydney councillor, Marianne Berejiklian. Now, this is the woman who stood for the federal seat of North Sydney as proof of the fact that this is a federal election issue now. And there was a 13% swing against the Liberal Party in the blue ribbon seat of North Sydney when Trent Zimmerman was elected. She's on the line. Marianne Berejiklian, good morning.
Hi, Alan. Good
Firstly,
morning.
can you tell me anything that I have said, correct me if I'm wrong?
Well, no, Alan, and just listening to it all over again just makes the situation even more depressing. As someone who volunteered effectively to represent her community, and we're just not being listened to. But even worse, we're having lies told about us. We're being bullied and harassed, and just being told that if we don't do it the Baird government's way, then we're not doing the right thing by our community. You know, put our pride in the back seat. Well, the easiest thing for councillors to do really at this point in time is to roll over, is to sign up and say, well, you know, yep, sure, you win. But that's not what our communities elected us to do. They elected us to represent them. And time after time after time, communities have told us, we do not want to be amalgamated.
You've got an unelected Lucy Turnbull from the Greater Sydney Commission is now part of all of this process. I understand this woman is sitting in on Cabinet.
Well, that's my understanding as well. And whilst councils have been busy responding to countless correspondence from the Minister, the Greater Sydney Commission has been set up with Lucy Turnbull, which has effectively taken all the planning powers away from councils. And now we have Lucy Turnbull as the head of the Greater Sydney Commission sitting in on Cabinet on planning decisions. And having an unelected person in Cabinet really is something that I haven't heard of for quite a long time.
Ever. And so the strategy, when you're not armed with any argument that can persuade the electorate, then the best thing to do is to lie to the electorate and defame the councils, and this is what's happening.
Well, unfortunately, the electorate are too smart for that, Alan, and people have time after time said we do not want to be amalgamated and told their councils to stay strong.
Because no one's opposing voluntary amalgamations. Councils can determine this.
And nobody's if you want to voluntarily merge, by all means, and everybody supports that, and nobody's suggesting for one moment that things in local government are perfect, but I don't think the state government are the bastion of virtue in that regard, telling local councils how to run. I mean, at the end of the day, what they're trying to do is not to get rid of local government, they're actually looking to make it bigger. They're making it into these bigger, mega merged councils.
Bigger than federal electorates.
Absolutely, bigger than federal electorates. Make councillors full-time, which completely removes people from their community. And the local voice, at the end of the day, it's about the local voice being lost. And I can see through things that the Baird government have done, be it lockout laws, be it every other contentious issue, they don't want to hear the community voice. And one way of getting rid of the community voice is to make councils so large that they can control them.
The guidelines here that you have to abide by say that you should be, your campaign in relation to amalgamation should be conducted in an objective, accurate and honest manner and should not be deliberately misleading. The rules don't apply to the Baird government.
Well, the rules never apply to the Baird government. The rules only apply to councils. They set deadlines. You know, we've had this came out just before Christmas. New deadlines come out just before Easter, maximum inconvenience. And now we've had this absolutely appalling letters being sent for councillors to actually pledge allegiance to the state government in order to kind of keep our jobs. So I'd just like to remind them that they're actually not our jobs. We do these as a secondary role for our community.
But they've already written to councillors or to general managers to flag their interest in applying for the interim job in the merged councils, and those applications have got to be in today, April 13.
Absolutely, but general managers aren't employed by the state government.
No, not employed by the state government.
They're employed by the council. And the issue there too, Ellen, is that the absolute turmoil that this is putting people in. Do I apply? Do I not apply? It's really saying, you know, local councils, you know, will tie both your hands behind your back, you know, and then tell us that, you know, that this is what you're going to do. I mean, general managers are trying to run councils. Why should they be asked by the state government to say, do I want to keep my job?
Yeah.
It's just appalling.
It is an utter... the words are... I'm quite good with words, and you sound pretty good yourself. But there aren't words to describe this abuse of the democratic process. If you believe the foundations on which the government is mounting its case are valid and sound, release the KPMG report and put the proposal to a plebiscite and let the people vote, which they did in Western Australia, and it was overwhelmingly beaten.
Absolutely, and we've asked for that. In fact, North Sydney Council put forward a motion to ask that we can hold a plebiscite at the next federal election, and I would encourage every council to do it. We're continually told we can't, but we should just keep asking. And at the end of the day, all we're asking the Premier to do is just to back off, be honest and upfront about what this is all about.
Good on you.
You know,
Good on you.
release the
Well, it's a
report.
federal. Malcolm Turnbull's involved here now. This is a federal election issue now. This is right across New South Wales. We'll keep in touch with you, Marianne. Outstandingly done, and thank you for your time.